The following is a presentation of Morning Drive Media.
From the southernmost point of Dorne to the lands of always winter and what is west of west and the shadows in the east, this is Casterly Talk. I'm Ken Napzok for another edition of our Game of Thrones Rewatch. Available in podcast form and in YouTube form with full-on Ken face mode. That's right, you get to see me today. Just me today. I always feel the need to apologize. Don't worry, some cool people on the way to discuss the Game of Thrones themes, big moments, favorite lines, favorite characters, and biggest heartbreaking moments. Well, we are at perhaps the biggest one today. What we are discussing is episode 9 of season 1, Baelor. Oh boy, this is the big one. This is the one that changed the landscape, not just for Game of Thrones, but for TV. This is the one that got the show from, a healthy, exciting, good 2.2 million viewers roughly in the early goings, the pilot. Think about 2.6 million for this one. Those numbers would be a thing of the past by the end of the show's run, and I think it's because of things like this, but I trace a lot of it back to this, because this is the no. That's a phone. That's a phone, because we even back then we used to call people more than text them. I sound like an old guy, but I am. Hey, so let's go back to that. Original air date, June 12th, 2011. Director, Alan Taylor. I do believe this is his first go-around. He wasn't originally supposed to do it. The Fire Cannot Kill Dragon, great book. I'm almost finished with it. Had a little delay on finishing the book, but good stuff from Alan Taylor. Like jumping in, and he's got to do this one. And he also did, episode 10. The writers, Benioff and Weiss, cinematographer, Alik Sakharov, excuse me. I always say that wrong. I'm such a jerk. Editing, Francis Parker. That's the stats and figures on this episode, but let's go beyond that. Let's go to our reactions, our emotions. That's what I'm even more interested than who watched and how many people watched and the ratings and the reviews. Fun to look back. This is an episode. This is a moment in my life. This is why this is as big as it is. This is a moment of my life. Challenger exploding. I remember that day. 9/11's big. I'm not comparing the Game of Thrones to 9/11, but we all remember every second, every minute of where we were. There's all those kind of things. And yes, this is in that type of category of I remember where I was, who I was with, in this case, by myself with a dachshund. And I remember what happened and the phone calls. My buddy Christian Harloff, a lot of you, of course, know him from Schmoes. No, SEN, he called me right after because, you were all watching kind of live at 6 p.m. Pacific our time where I was at. So the episode, the phone off, ringing, phone off the hook, cell phone, not a rotary phone. I'm not that old. And we talked for half hour. Now, I hadn't read the books yet at this point. By this point, I had that 4-pack of those paperbacks before they, added Dance of Dragons, like that 4-pack of the paperback copies, the blue, the green, red, yellow, I believe, right? Or maybe reversed it. Whatever the colors were, doesn't matter. Small detail. I had that. I was ready to crack it open. I determined after season 1, I was cracking open the books and diving on in, which I ended up doing, of course. So at this point, Ned's gone. I don't know if I believe it. I definitely don't want it. I was blown away. And Harloff and I are on the phone talking for 35 minutes maybe, and he's pissed. He's upset. And he says, and I'll never forget these words, he goes, well, this is, I almost didn't want to watch, but this is Jon Snow's story now. It has to be. Otherwise, why am I watching? Because he was upset. He was upset. I was upset. I was confused. This doesn't happen. This isn't Boromir, right? We got the Sean Bean dies jokes. I get it, but this isn't Boromir. He's part of 9. The focus is on Frodo, Aragorn. You get that, even if you're not super familiar with Lord of the Rings and you're just watching the movies for the first time. Sean Bean's there. It tracks. You're not watching Goldeneye thinking 006 is going to do a lot of surviving and being at the lead of the story. All right, Sean Bean dies there as Trevelyan twice. This wasn't like that. This was the lead. This is the poster guy, and all those things you read and hear about. Most of you are with me. You're there. You're here. You are right with me, knowing exactly where you are on June 12th, 2011. But even then, you can't undercut what this actually meant and what it did. Ripples. In fact, we've got a call about that. I'm going to play that right now. Addie checking in with some thoughts on the last episodes of season 1 and kind of along the line of more of an emotional reaction and what it meant to her and her brother. Here we go.
Hey, Ken and Casterly Talk, Addie again. As we approach the end of our season 1 rewatch, I've been thinking back on when I first saw season 1. My brother and I were watching it. We lived in different states, different time zones even, and he would call me up. He had not read the books at this point, and I had at least read the first one. And I can remember him going into the last couple episodes of the season, basically saying to me that his favorite characters were Ned and Drogo. And if anything happened to them, it was going to be just, he wasn't going to watch Game of Thrones anymore, which wasn't true. And I'm just curious because, Ken, you've remarked that you hadn't read the books yet either. I know some of your crew had. I'm curious if anyone else had, or other listeners had moments like that they look back on, and it's a fond memory. It's a fun thing that Game of Thrones brought me and my brother together on this, and just interested to hear.
Great stuff, Addie. And yes, I put a call to action at the end of we got this episode 10. We can also do an episode of your reactions, your memories of actually experiencing the show. Book reader, did this live up to your expectations? This scene, did it not? What did you do? Were you one of those people that taped someone on your couch with you because you knew what's coming? Are you like Addie's brother? Or like, there's 3 characters that must survive at the end of season 1. They are as follows, and just have your heart broken. Like, this is why we're talking about it years later. Why I decided to do this rewatch now and do it with a deeper dive into the themes and moments. Is these are the moments that pulled us in. I love what Addie said too about her brother and her kind of bonding, coming together over that too. This is what these things can do. All right, let's dive in. To the episode. Oh, one of the notes. Yeah, I had this note for myself to talk about. This particular episode, but really all of them in season 1. This is just a stacked episode of great moments. When you're sitting on your porch, drinking a peach tea, having a hot dog. I don't know what you're doing on your porch. Why are you having tea and a hot dog? I don't know, but you're there, and you're just looking back on Game of Thrones. Oh, I love that scene. Oh, that's one of my favorite moments. Oh, that one too. They're obviously throughout all 8 seasons, but season 1, there's just a lot of them. And you hear me often mention, oh, I like that scene where Jaime's talking about his first kill. Oh, that's season 1. Oh, I love Robert and Cersei. They're talking about their marriage. Oh, that's right. That's season 1. Season one. I think we might have been spoiled. And this is not a comment on anything that came after. Good seasons, bad seasons, good choices, great choices, bad choices. Doesn't matter to me. I think season 1 it's one of the finer first seasons of television ever. And there's a lot of you out there have your own list of what those choices are and what that means to you. I always give the example of Rescue Me, season 1 of Rescue Me. I'm a big fan of that show, but that season 1 is just beat for beat, near perfection. It just sets the tone and all those things you want a season 1 to do, but it takes you on this powerful journey, and therefore any other choices in subsequent seasons are held up to that first season, and sometimes they don't hold up. Rescue Me goes in some different directions. I've talked about that before here on this channel. Same with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones continues to be Game of Thrones. It just gets bigger and louder and bolder and at times for me deeper. But season 1 is just hit after hit after hit. It's that first album from a band, and now it's a greatest hits album, and every single was just clicking, and they hadn't got to their experimental phase yet. They the songs weren't 9 minutes long, full of coke and ego, like an Oasis record later on, and I'm a big Oasis fan. It wasn't that. So I just was watching this particular episode, Baelor, just thinking to myself, it is just beat for beat, near perfection, much like this season. And in a way, hate to say it, I almost wonder, were we spoiled? Were we spoiled? Now, let the smarter thinkers and philosophers out there answer that question. Let's get into the themes and lessons. So here's what it is. This is why I love doing the show with Ace or Rachel. We're ready to get Lon on there. Michelle Boyd's coming in soon. We got some surprises. Thomas Rissling's going to get back. I'm going to drag him in to this soon. So I love getting other people's thoughts in a roundtable discussion. Me by myself barfing into a microphone. My mind goes to where I kind of want to focus, right? It's going to look on things in a particular way. And I was kind of surprised. Pulled out my little notepad for this episode and was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting in terms of themes and lessons and what these characters go through. Like, it's Baelor. Ned dies. Daenerys, Khal Drogo, that big kind of crescendo. Like, there's a lot going on here. Tyrion, Shay, a lot of it. But I was kind of surprised at this theme, and it popped up. And once it pops up, you can't not see it. We talk about honor, we talk about duty, sacrifice, who you serve, and all those questions are here in this episode, as they are in every episode. And big about family. Listen to director Alan Taylor talk about this episode, but Game of Thrones in general, say Game of Thrones in a lot of ways is about family. It's a family show, what you do with family and how you honor family legacy or how you get away from family legacy. And I think that is one of those universal truths. And all those kind of things are in this episode. And I'm like universal truth for Game of Thrones. It's all there. But the one that jumped out, I got to tell you, it's the art of the deal. Making deals, coming to agreements. There are big deals, putting, for the podcast listeners, putting quotation marks or half quotation marks around deals. Because there are a lot of people that make deals that cost them at some point. Some very quick within this episode, Ned Stark. Some a little bit later on. And some are step one on a bigger slippery slope fall. Some are deals they make that they break and cause problems for themselves. And so from that starting point, that just jumped out about Baelor. Again, there's a lot of other things, but the deal, and we'll start with the big one that ends the episode, but really it's kind of the start of the episode. And that is Ned making this deal for his daughters. Specifically Sansa. Arya's on the run, right? But he's down there. He and Varys have those. I love the Ned and Varys Black Cell conversations, even the ones from the previous episodes. Great stuff. And Conleth Hill, Sean Bean kind of going toe to toe. It's just a joy to watch. Talk about being spoiled. Varys has some great stuff in here about the roles we play, which is another question. The idea that Ned has already had this conversation with him about, you did nothing, and Varys is, do you look at me and see a hero? But the roles we play too in all of this, and why we play them, and the need to play them strategically too. Pycelle, I always go to Pycelle. I remember watching him, and what is that? That's actually in episode 10, right? Of the reveal with Roz that Pycelle walks normally, and he's putting on a show. I remember thinking when I first saw that, I wonder what that's going to be. That's going to be. It's never addressed again. The famous deleted scene of Tywin fishing, like it's never really addressed again. He dies pretending to be hunched over and old and broken. Maybe by then he actually was, But the roles we play, the facades we put up, Baelish and Varys know this more than anyone. Look around. We're all liars here. Like, these are those big Game of Thrones questions. And if so, Varys, I really like his roles we play, but that kind of leads into Ned needing to play a different role and play the role, to me, of protective father. His great line when Varys is, trying to convince him to do this and just plain simply just screaming at him, I want you to serve the realm. I love that moment. We talked previously about that as a guiding light. That is a guiding force for Varys. Serve the realm. He'll do it to his last dying breath. Serves the realm. I love that about Varys. And it reframes him when you really go back and rewatch it. Reframes Varys as more of a good guy than you maybe first believed. Again, complicated shades of gray in this show and this story. Of course. But Varys starts with that and ends with that. And I like that. I like that about Varys. But the roles we play, serving the realm, all these questions, honor, duty. Ned's response of, you think my life is some precious thing to me. And the great speech of roles we play about, I'm a soldier. You're an actor, I'm a soldier. I learned to die a long time ago. For Varys to leave that conversation on, what of your daughter's life, Lord Stark? Is that a precious thing to you? Puts Ned into this uncomfortable spot for him. Protective father, he's very protective. We get that stuff later on that I mention often about Arya and Sansa kind of saying, yeah, Dad was great. Didn't raise us perfectly for this world, or maybe overprotected us and didn't prepare us for some of the harsh realities. But we love him, and Dad did well. Dad did well by us. But Ned is a soldier, telling Septim Mordain, war is easier than daughters. Ha ha ha. That's funny, but it's true. And so in this moment, he is someone who wants to. He is about protecting children. That is a theme. Something we've discussed on here before, but it is a theme. Giving Cersei a chance to leave. I don't want there to be bloodshed for your kids. Get your kids. Get out of here. I'm going to tell everyone the truth. Protecting Arya, as we see on Baelor, and that's one of his final things. Is at least he knows Arya's gone or out there safe or not seeing it. And this is like I said, it is for both the girls, but because it's, I kind of see it as specific to Sansa, working with the Queen, and then that final moment where Ned's about to confess, and he looks up and he sees Sansa, and he kind of has a like, are you sure? Is this good? We've made the deal. I'm going to take the black. We're good, right? And you're safe. And Sansa, of course, like, yes, you are, with the nod. Joffrey tosses that out. I believe we can get to that maybe later too, but I believe Cersei would have honored that. Maybe on the King's Road, she would have had Ned killed or tried to, something like that. Yeah, of course it's Cersei. But I think for this moment, I think Cersei's smart enough to know what's the line? A tame wolf is better than a dead wolf, has more value than a dead wolf to her. Joffrey plays his role, plays what he thinks is a king, a powerful king, a strong king. No one will mercy. My mother and Sansa have the weak heart of women. What a great guy Joffrey is, but he's trying to play the role of king. But Ned has made this deal. I think it's a deal he had to make. I think it's a deal he made in good faith. But a lot of this to me is because he ends up in a spot because he doesn't want to make deals before. He tries when he does try to make a deal with the Baelish. It backfires, and now he tries to make a deal to get out of it. He's just in a bad bargaining position to put it in basic business terms. And it costs him right then and there. Again, it's not necessarily the deal that costs him. I do believe Cersei holds up her end of the bargain under different circumstances, but I think he's in that position. And it speaks to him. Varys says those words. And it's something I got to tell you, especially early on watching the show. This is why I love going back to the themes. This starts to become apparent later on, but it could be one of those little things. You're so caught up in the hows and the whats. This is why I preach on that stuff. I just bang that drum. The hows and the whats. Always ask for the whys. Always dig for the whys. I think it's easy to overlook Varys saying, "What of your daughter's life, Lord Stark?" And that's why he did it, because Varys is screaming, "Serve the realm." This is part of serving the realm, and that doesn't click for Ned. I'm not saying no one would say Ned's a bad guy, but Ned doesn't. Not that Ned doesn't care for the realm, but he thinks what's right, Stannis, that's right for the realm. What is right is right. We got to go that way. And Varys kind of saying, "No, I need the people, the realm itself. Serve them, serve them," and that doesn't click with Ned, and it needs to be broken down to your daughter, part of the realm, a person in the realm, your daughter. Don't think about the big picture. Think about this, and because it clicks in, it's a powerful thing. It's a deal. Deal again. I think he has to take, but the fact that he's in that position is what gets him in the end. There is this great thing here, and we got a call from Eric Monroe about this. I want to play. It's a great moment where Ned just kind of plainly asked, couldn't you break me out? You keep coming down here. You keep sneaking down here. Let's sneak on out. Varys simply says, I could, but I won't. So Eric Monroe, our good friend Eric, has called in with this thought about that. We're going to hear it now.
Hey, Ken Casterly Talk. So episode 9, this is a very, very big episode. The ramifications of what happens in this episode are huge. And there's always been a small part of me that kind of wishes that I went into that episode not knowing what was going to happen, because the shock of what happens with Ned definitely would have been amazing. But even knowing what was going to happen, it still was shocking to watch it. And one of the ramifications of the execution of Ned Stark that I don't think it's talked about enough is Varys and what he does in season 4 when he frees Tyrion. I really feel part of the reason he does that is because I think a part of him regrets not freeing Ned, because he clearly, in my opinion, did not know Joffrey was going to have him executed. Because I believe if Varys knew Joffrey was going to have him executed and not send Ned to the wall, he might have changed his mind and tried to free him, because he served the realm and he knew with Ned dead, the realm would suffer.
Absolutely. There it is right there. There's that guiding light, guiding principle for Varys. And is it easy to second guess anyone who would have thought, including Cersei? I mean, definitely she gets second guessed by her father and Tyrion all the time, especially in season 2, right? When Tyrion shows up to kind of hold her hand as the hand. I think it's too easy to look at those folks and say, yeah, y'all fell for Joffrey. Like, did you think he was not going to do that? But I think at this point that was less known, right? Less known, especially if you don't believe he is the son of incest and the dangers that can pose. If you just think, hey, he's a young king, Cersei seems like she's got a good handle on him. Clearly, she's driving this deal. If you're Varys and Baelish, there's a lot of things going on. Baelish loves his chaos. I don't think even he, we don't see that. We don't have that scene where Baelish contemplates. Maybe he's just talking to Roz while she's handling a customer and think, I think Joffrey's going to renege on the deal. We don't get to see that scene. We could have had that. So I don't fault Varys at all, but I do agree with Eric. I think what's best for the realm is Ned alive. Otherwise, there is war. It's already happening. It's already brewing. Tyrion and being captured, already causing problems. So Rob marching down. We're going to have war. Not good for the people. Not good for the realm. So Varys is definitely there. And yeah, going to the Tyrion season 4 escape, I don't know if it's as big as for the realm, but at the same time, show only version, Varys travels with Tyrion to Illyrio Mopathos's manor, and we don't see Illyrio. There's a little bit of that Targaryen restoration plan in play, a little different in the show, I understand. But I think maybe Varys feels that is better for the realm. Let's go over there, dust Tyrion off. He has that conversation with him. Was it beginning of season 5? Not looking for a king now. Now we're looking for a queen. We may have found one. This is going to be good. And I think you'd be good in that because you're damn good at the game. You play your role well. So I think because, Tyrion's going to be, the mountain, the Viper in the Mountain has happened. Tyrion's death, again, I don't think has the ramifications as Ned's does, but there's a lot of things in Varys' mind that I think at that moment he probably just feels this is the right thing to do. So I think Eric's right. Thinking aloud here, but I think Eric's right, tying it back to that maybe Varys had definitely some thoughts. This is one of the things I love about Solo, a Star Wars story, where Han does walk away when offered a chance to help. It's not quite the rebellion yet, but Infus Nest offers him that chance, and he's not going to do it. And 10 years later, when that kind of situation comes up again, I think he not only thinks about it, I think Chewbacca thinks about it. But that's a different podcast. You can listen to Force Center, and we'll talk all about that. So that's the big one there. That's the big deal that's made. It's one that is very clear. But the deals continue. We are rolling with more deals here on Baelor, episode 9. Robb needs a bridge. He needs a bridge. And this was a good deal, relatively speaking. But it was a deal he really felt. Did he really feel he had to make it? Yeah, I think he. Did he want to make it? Again, I think he is kind of playing a role here too. Not faking it. It's maybe a little fake until you're making it, but he's not quite yet the king of the North. He's doing this for his father. He even says here outside of the twins, we got to get down. We got to help my dad. We got to do this. So he's in the position where he has to make the deal, and I think it's a good deal. But this is one of those deals that season 2 rolls around. He could not see Talisa coming into his life. He just couldn't see it, right? He doesn't want to marry a Frey girl, but again, it's an easy deal to make. And I think honor deals, whatever you want to, I think this deal feels like honor to Robb. And when Aemon says a little bit later on, we all do our duty when there's no cost to it. I think Robb understands the ramifications, but right at this moment, there's no cost for him. Get the bridge, get dad, and we're good. A little bit later, Talisa comes along. Aemon wasn't talking to him, but he might as well have been, right? Love is the death of duty. Your duty was this deal. Part of your duty was this deal you made. Robb wasn't prepared. So again, playing a little bit of a role. Easy to do this right now. Very noble thing to do. Part of the reason I think he could have been elected King of the North there. Elected? Well, he didn't run off, but named King of the North. What a sacrifice. What a great sacrifice. The son of Ned, willing to marry a Frey girl. That's not a good thing, right? No one knows that Rosalind Frey exists, really. Marrying a Frey girl can't be good for our king, but he's willing to do it. He's willing to make these sacrifices, and he's willing to give up Arya, who's also going to marry a Frey girl, right? He's going to take on a squire, Oliver. And Walder Frey wants him to be made a knight pretty quickly. He's doing all these things, and he's doing it for us. Seems great. Rah. Robb's going to make this deal. Role to play. We'll give him an even more powerful role. King of the North. Season 2 starts to unravel. Talisa shows up. Love is the death of duty. Now there's a cost to the deal, a cost to the honor you have out there, and I think it's interesting. I also think too, going back here, looking a little closer at Robb. We talk often on this show about important foreshadowing and things with more meaning, and sometimes they're those little sweet things, and sometimes they're just prophecy things, or just hey, the show's telling us this. Robb, without a doubt, by season 3, leading up to Red Wedding, he's lost his way, and the Karstark beheading and all the stuff that led up to that. Trusting Roose, I don't think that's necessarily Robb's fault at the start. It's one of his father's bannermen. There's a lot of things going along. The Talisa thing, the showing mercy to prisoners and kind of not maybe reading the tone of his room, but I still think Robb's doing good things, right? I think he would have been a good king. King of the North or king on the Iron Throne for me. I think all would have worked. But hear me out here. I think looking back, Robb was losing from the start. He was on a dark path. We were just rooting for him. And I don't mean that in the sense like Daenerys, where we've talked previously about she's killing bad men and we're cheering her, which again, we should. Bigger things, bigger lessons to learn there. But with Rob, we're rooting for him, especially again. I say how many times do I say, if you haven't read the books, season 1, if you're watching in 2011, even if you don't yet know what's going to happen at the Sept of Baelor, you're rooting for Rob. Revenge. March down there, save your father, kill the bad folks, take the throne, leave the throne. Doesn't matter. We're rooting for him. So you're not seeing the mistakes he's already making. And this deal is a deal I feel, again, he's in a position where he has to do it. Probably a good deal. There's no real other way around it. Hard to march any faster. They needed to cut across. He had to take it. But he's already losing. He's winning. He's getting to Tywin. Got some big victories under his belt. He's got some bigger even on the way in this episode. But for me, might just be me. I think he was down a touchdown before kickoff even started, and we just didn't see it. All right, so the other deal we want to talk about, a couple more here. Big episode. We know big episode. We know that, Ken. The other deal, we got 2 here. All right. Hear me out here. Shay and Tyrion, they make a deal. Tyrion, do you accept my proposal? That's a deal. Proposals, deals. Then we got Daenerys needing Khal Drogo alive and makes that deal. She's already kind of on that path, but here she absolutely makes a deal to keep Khal Drogo alive. Only death can pay for life. Both these deals, I think, have long-term effects. They have some short-term effects. With Dany, though, her deal goes completely south. It's a raw deal. She gets a revenge. We'll talk a lot about it in episode 10. Mary Mazdur, all that stuff. So I don't think this deal directly affects Dany right away, other than Khal Drogo gone, and she has to deal with that. We'll talk about it next week, but this is one of those, and out of the Phoenix rising from the ashes, literally, she is now the mother of dragons. So unintended consequences, unintended results, possibly. But I think this is one of those ones that down the line can get her. Down the line, we can have more conversations about Dany down the line. Dany down the line. That's a good book there. But right here, she makes this deal. She's all these characters have to make these deals, I think, or do they? I don't know. That's the question. But I think Daenerys Targaryen is in a position. She has no horde. Khal Drogo has dropped, lost it. Very few blood riders willing to stay around. Jorah's right. We could have been 10 miles away. We could have been in a shy. Jorah does have, flashing ahead to season 3, there's some Jorah needs to have probably a little bit more faith in Dany. This episode definitely has that. Next week definitely has that, where Dany has a belief. Jorah's not kind of down with it, but wants to support her, so he goes with it, and something bigger or in many cases good comes out of it. But I think he's right. I mean, what are you going to do? What would he and Dany go to a shy and open up a bed and breakfast? Like, what are you going to do? She has to make this deal, but it costs her. Absolutely costs her, but sets her on her path. So, hey, there you go. Shay and Tyrion's deal. We know where it ends up. We know how it costs both of them, quite frankly. More to that story, obviously, but this is kind of how it doesn't just get Tyrion in the trial. But along the way, Shay in his life is both the greatest thing and at times the most painful thing. And in the end, tragic. So this deal will come back to haunt both of them. Shay, I think, makes a deal up top that is, sure, great. I'll be your beck and call girl. Well, we got the pretty woman plot here. I'll pay you $3,000 for the week. Starts from that point of view. It obviously grows into something more. We see it right away. The great drinking game, the truth or drink game, that whole sequence. which was a reshoot, an add-on, and once season 1 kind of famously short of runtime, so they had to go back and add some scenes. And every scene, I'm telling you, every scene that they went back and added, I mean, I'm trying to think of one that I know that's an add-on that doesn't work. Every one of those scenes is like, oh, that was an add-on scene, because that's one of the best scenes of season 1. Jamie and Jory Cassell, the Cersei Robert marriage holding the realm together talk, and this one, among others. So I don't know. Take your they needed the books to tell good stories conversation, and maybe, I don't know, we'll deal with that another time. I don't want to get negative. But yeah, they know what they're doing when they have these characters together and want to get stuff across. So that's this deal. And again, it's a theme, but it's just like how you get to, maybe more of a theme. It's a lesson, how you get to those deals, why you make these deals, but the position you're in when you make them is key. And what can you do after, if you can? I think Danny finds some success after a deal goes wrong. I think that ties into, to add a little bit more to the Daenerys conversation. I don't want to shortchange Daenerys on the conversation for this episode, but I think a lot of season 1 is Dany finding herself in these positions and not wanting to be going forward. So she continues to kind of learn these lessons early on. This one, this deal, they end up at the, at Karth, at the doors of Karth, indirectly, maybe directly points from this deal. But you know what I mean? That's going back to stuff with her relationship early on with Khal Drogo, taking control of that situation, including on the physical side, never wanting to be in compromised positions of where she doesn't have the control, doesn't have the power, is being abused, all those kind of things that are important things for Dany's growth. And I think this is one of them too. She's tricked. She's tricked. Zohan Doxus tricks her later on. She even says in season 2, we'll get to it, but thank you for this valuable lesson. Miri has given her a valuable lesson as well. So even though Dany made a bad deal, I think it's a great testament to her that she takes the hit, she rebounds, rises from the ashes, and learns until, well, the lessons run out, I guess we could say. I do like, again, I mentioned the drinking game, and have some thoughts on Tyrion and Shay, book versus show. There's this idea here, not a huge thing, but the stories that make us and who we are, the trauma. Game of Thrones does deal with a lot of trauma. And you got this truth or drink game, which is what I'm calling it there. This is Brian Cogman said he felt this won Dinklage the Emmy. Was this scene in this moment and unveiling a lot of things. And it's interesting too, because, we get a lot of these moments, Jamie in the bathtub with Brienne later on. We get all these moments where you get a lot from Cersei, but you have a certain view of the character and you start to learn more about him. But it's interesting. Early on, we like Tyrion early on, maybe even as early as the pilot. You get he's on that team, the Lannisters, but he's not necessarily like the others at all in any way, shape, or form, right? And so you start to love him. But this more emerges here. This is, to me, pretty big. This unveiling of who he is, what was done to him, and now we have already met Tywin, and it adds a pretty ominous, dark layer to it, and it's good. So, thoughts on some of the things here. Get into some book versus show a little bit here. So Sybil Kikili comes in as Shay. This is one of the ones that George R. R. Martin is pretty vocal on, and you can find a lot of times, to the point where I think it's like, all right, we get it, George. You like Sybil. He says that she's not. I mean, Shay in the books is from Westeros. To account for Sybil Kikili's German accent, they changed her to foreign, as she says. Where's your accent from? Foreign. which I actually like even better. It adds another layer to it. And George R. R. Martin has always said that she's not the character I wrote. She made it better. And I think that's true. I think Shay is, I don't know, a little one-dimensional, two-dimensional at most in the books. Stands out enough, but not to this level. And I think, a lot of that is to credit to both of them as performers, but to the stuff that we're rooting for Tyrion on so many levels. So for him to find any kind of love and someone who's just like, I'm with you, I'm on your level, and I get it, and we get to see it happen. And I think it's one of the victories of the show. I really do. I think the way it ends up, it's similar. The end result is kind of the same there, right? And it has way more emotional punch in the show. And it's again because you have to see it. You have to see these actors. You can't read it. You're not reading it. It's a different medium. It's a different experience. It's a different way to tell a story. You get away with things in the books you can on the show. I've said, I said it before. I said it on Forcing this week. You cannot do an entire season of Who is Reek on the show. You can't. We go an entire book or more not knowing really who Reek is. You can't do it. You have to you have to approach it from a different angle. And Tyrion, the show version with Peter Dinklage performing as this character, just breathing so much life into this character. I don't think we would have fallen. We would have liked watching Tyrion fall for someone that we can just view as money grubbing, cash grabbing, calculating sex worker. We know he likes whores. We get it. I don't think we would have. I don't think it would have been good. So this is one of the changes I like, and George R. R. Martin's really behind it. He talks about the audition process. It's yeah. I don't want to just go read George R. R. Martin. Sometimes George just want him to pump the brakes on the way he goes in descriptions of things. The other thing, I do want to, there is a cost to magic, and that's I think DB Weiss was explaining this one too, just like, and it's in the commentaries after, which are just wonderful, fascinating little bits of media to watch. You get a lot of insight into the choices made by the producers, which is same in the Fire Cannot Kill Dragon book, and the writer James Hibbert has said it like, this book will answer why they did the things they did, whether you like it or not. I'm paraphrasing, but these little things after, they're always valuable to watch. And DB Weiss says in the HBO extras here that, this world, we're seeing the magic, and we see the White Walkers coming back, and we know there's dragons, and the House of the Undying, we'll learn later on. I'm paraphrasing what he's saying here. I'm just, listen to all the stuff we know. But Miriam Mazdor is representative of something that's not accepted in Dothraki culture and by a lot of culture. Dark magic, black magic, not good. Varys just absolutely, especially later on, season 2 and 3, just, let me tell you why I don't like it. We have yet to meet Melisandre. I like Melisandre, but a lot of people don't. And with good reason. There is a cost of the magic in this world, and it's on display here. And I like that it is this deal gone bad. We see it as that. I think that's a little thing. Let's talk about, before we get into some important foreshadowing here on this episode, I do want to get into the Battle of Whispering Wood and the Battle of the Green Fork. And these are battles we don't see. Whispering Wood is where Jaime is captured. Green Fork is where Tyrion is leading the vanguard. And they are dramatically different than the books. I mean, we see them. Tyrion is much more active in the battle. He's successful in the battle. He's up there riding. He has some kills. This one, he's knocked out, kind of comically, wakes up, and the battle is over. We have won. Not really, kind of. It's something they had to do. I think if you're listening, you're watching, the reason they had to do it. Budget. Alan Taylor talks about it, kind of bummed, but it forced us to do something else. And it got me, I got that great shot of Tyrion in the cart and the angle looking up at Bronn, which is one of my favorite little sequences in season 1 too. Like low key, one of my favorite ones there. So I understand why. You can't complain. Budget, it's just something. It's just something. Unless you're George R. R. Martin, you can complain about the king hunting. I get it, but it is what it is. And I think they made some great choices. I think the Battle of Whispering Wood, Roderick Cassell and Lady Catelyn kind of waiting. Let's go, lady. It's not good. You don't know if Rob's going to survive, and they emerge, and then they got Jaime. I think that's more effective for me than seeing a big battle. We had yet to see Blackwater. They knew they had Blackwater that's where they had to kind of put a lot of the money into, especially in season 2, and they knew they were going to get to that. And season 8 is a ton of battles. I love them. Season 7, season 6 by Hardhome, actually by Watchers on the Wall. Neil Marshall, I think you're just raising the stakes on battles and what we want to see in our TV and what we expect to see. But I still love Battle of Blackwater Bay because it's smaller and intimate. They had to work with what they got, and I still like this moment. These 2 moments in the show, I actually like how they worked out. I would understand if I was a book reader prior to season 1, I might be upset a little bit at Battle of the Green Fork. Actually, probably both, but Tyrion to me gets a moment. He gets a moment. And he's robbed of that moment here, but it is what it is. And it works for me, but we had to talk about that. All right. So we're going to do some important foreshadowing. I got a call from Donald Long. Donald Long's got a call about Aemon and Jon.
Hey, Casterly Talk. In this episode, we get a great scene with Aemon and Jon and the choices between honor, family, and love, and how that will come back and foreshadow multiple times throughout the rest of the series and Jon's story, and how Jon's choices and things, and how honor sometimes is the best, but also sometimes not the most important. But every time Jon has to make this decision, Jon will choose honor. When Rob gets killed, he runs away, but he chooses honor and comes back. When he has to choose love, Ygritte, he chooses honor yet again and goes back, honor his vows to the Night's Watch, and goes back. But Daenerys gets a lot muddier, but essentially he chooses honor yet again. And how Aemon reveals himself is also fun to look at. In maybe 50 years, Jon will have to have this speech again to some little kid that comes along just like him and reveal who he really is. Thanks.
I love that idea of 50 years from now, Tormund Giantsbane's grandson or something wants to run off and head back down south to get revenge or something. I don't want bad things to happen to Tormund. Great call there, Donald Long. Actually really love this call, talking about guiding lights, guiding principles for our characters. Jon and honor, Jon and love. I absolutely love that. It is the path forward for him. You're right. He always comes back to that when forced to choose, when asked to choose. He comes back to that. He starts off as I should be there. When he gets a word from Sam, he gets a word from Jorah Mormont. I mean, I should be there. Should be there with Rob, and it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. But to grow from that and the valuable lesson, one of the best, to me, one of the most powerful quotes. Aemon answering, so they will not love. Love is the death of duty. If the day should ever come when your Lord Father was forced to choose between honor on the one hand and those he loves on the other, what would he do? We're minutes away from Ned Stark making that decision. And he chooses the ones he loves. And it costs him. In that moment, there's choices Ned made leading up to this. Again, getting himself into this position where he had to make this deal that might have been bad and ends up bad. I think that's interesting to me, that once he's there, though, this is what Ned chooses. And Jon, too, is going to choose that time and time again. And perhaps, hear me out, perhaps in the very end, Jon chooses the one love that he's never really given to. And that is kind of the love of himself, not in an ego way, but just a self-care way. You know who I haven't said I love you to? Me. I like me. I love me. I'm going to choose me right now, and I'm walking away from it all and going north. So I don't know. Maybe that goes all the way to the end. Good stuff there. Important foreshadowing and things with more meaning now. Walder Frey. Oh, yes. I said some words, and I swore oaths to the crown, too, if I remember right. And he follows it up a couple beats later with Catelyn. I'd hand you both over to the Lannisters. Well, there you go. You're making this deal with late Walder Frey. But in the deal, he's telling you, I don't like any of you. I should just turn you over to the Lannisters. Catelyn gets told that, and she definitely, not Catelyn's fault, definitely presses the importance of this deal with Robb Stark, particularly in season 2, when she kind of is like, who's Talisa? But it would have been nice maybe if Robb just learned this lesson, or maybe heard it from Walder Frey himself at this moment. I don't know. Again, not Catelyn's fault. I think great idea for her to go negotiate. Love that there. Playing roles. Jorah to Dany. Here they value strength. Talking to Dany about birthright and who sits on the throne and heirs and legacy and chains of succession, all those kind of things. This is what Dany is raised to know and believe, right? They're waiting for my brother over there. That's what I'm told. Oh, he's not worthy. They're waiting for me, right? And now I'm here. Now this isn't even about the Iron Throne. Now I'm here. I am the Khaleesi. For Jorah to tell her pretty simply, hey, here they value strength, is another lesson that Dany listens to. She's smart. She's ahead of the game. Great moments in season 3 where she's like, cool, Barristan, Jorah, if you doubt me again, there'll be consequences. I know what I'm doing. She does make mistakes along the way. She does get frustrating. Ace and I have talked about that. Dany Marine can get kind of like, come on, Dany. But I think especially early on, she is learning the lessons, taking them to heart. And this one here, hey, here, I'm adding the hay, by the way. Here they value strength. Dany realizes that, quite frankly, maybe everywhere they value strength. And that's how to best get your point across, or best get what you want. You're a dragon, be a dragon is something she hears later on when she maybe is moving away from this. It's not always right. I don't think that the definition of strength could be a problem. You could misinterpret it at times. But this is to me, this line has more meaning, not necessarily foreshadowing. I'm not submitting this as foreshadowing. I'm submitting this as interesting that Jorah told her this early on, and that she clearly listened. Favorite moments, lines, and scenes. We've talked a lot about the scenes. I love Varys screaming, I want you to serve the realm. I really do. I think it's powerful now that we really got it. We're focused on the fact that this is what Varys believes. This is the kind of stuff he's about. I love that. Jorah passing Longclaw on, small touching scene. It definitely means more when you go to season 7. It does say something about Jorah. I love that moment. I mentioned before, but I'll highlight it again. Aemon Targaryen saying, we all do our duty when there is no cost to it. I just love that. And the whole sequence with Aemon's reveal. I especially remember watching it on this day back in 2011. I guess I didn't really have a sense of who Aemon might be. Again, not even about the books, but just watching it face value on the show. I just thought he was an old maester, right? Nothing about it stood out. So when he started telling his story, I was as pulled in, intrigued, and just, it was as gripping to me as it was to Jon Snow in this scene. I mean, I'm just leaning over too, looking at the TV. It's like, who is he? Oh my God. And it's a powerful moment. We do have a kind of a written question too, about this one here. And it does come from our good buddy, Donald Long, as well. And he writes this. He put this on my Discord page, which is attached to my Patreon page. He says, hey, Ken, I didn't want to take up 2 calls this week. Well, Donald, take as many calls as you want. Your calls are great. So he has a what if here. He says, what if Aemon wasn't blind at the time Jon made it to the wall? And now I know he's sand blind. He's maybe a little more legally blind, but Donald's point remains. What if he wasn't blind at the time Jon made it to the wall? Will he recognize or have a hint of who Jon really is, because we do know in the books, at least, so it still might have happened in the show version, that Aemon and Rhaegar sent letters to each other, so who knows what they said to each other. How would that not only change Jon's journey, but also the whole story after that? Donald adds, you don't have to answer this if you don't want, but I just thought I'd ask. No, the thing with what ifs, I don't ever really know. You have to find the themes and carry those out sometimes when you're predicting things or going back and looking at things. Yeah, whether or not Aemon and Rhaegar exchange letters in this world, this version of the world, I think I could go along with that, and I think that's the case. Would Rhaegar have told him that? I think Rhaegar would have kept that. I think Rhaegar would have kept that from him, but I don't know. Depending on the relationship. Uncle Aemon, man, I met a girl, man. Aren't you married? Yeah, I met a girl. We're in love. I had my marriage annulled. I don't know. It seems risky that would have been out in the world, but even beyond that, again, Maester Aemon, particularly in season 1, maybe not as blind as he's chopping meat, but Peter Vaughn was legally blind as well. There's some conversations in the book that I've been reading as well of that scene of like, will we have a blind man cut the meat? And he's like, well, I'm the actor and I'm doing it, and I am legally blind, so we're good. So Jon looks different enough. Does he sound, act, walk? I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been clues to him being Rhaegar's kid, but does he have more Lyanna's blood in him? Where's the genes falling here? I don't know. So it's a fun question. And how would it have changed the journey? I mean, I think, does Aemon go, if Aemon figures it out, does Aemon go into super protective mode? Does he just want to keep things status quo? Ned goes out of his way to protect this Targaryen child. I mean, Ned goes the distance protecting him. Would Aemon want to do it too? Aemon saying a Targaryen alone in the world. I mean, that always, it goes for Dany and it goes for Jon, clearly. So powerful stuff. I don't know that answer. You guys out there want to answer those what ifs? Let me know. Little lines. I like Sir Alliser being sent away. I think it's somewhere. It's later kind of explained. Benioff or Weiss or someone has explained in some interview somewhere, because Alliser goes down with that hand, the severed hand to show everyone, hey, there's a problem, and nothing really comes of it. In the show, they never really deal with it again. So the show answer was like, the hand kind of disintegrated by the time he got there, and it was a nothing burger. In the book, there's a little bit more. He does go to recruitment of the Night Watch. He's mocked by Tyrion, kind of Tyrion being an old rival for him here, and now more in a position of power. And also mocked for the White Walker story. A lot of stuff there. So I do like that beat. It's a nod to the book story, but not and doesn't go much further than that. And we know Alliser comes on back. Tyrion, one of my favorite quotes. Shagga likes axes. God, I love that quote. I love everything Tyrion says about the moon crows and the burnt men and all those kind of things. The moon, it's just great. Miri's line of "the dead will dance here tonight." It's a haunting sequence. I just like that line. I think you can use that at a party. It's a good line. Same sequence, but Jorah saying "no further, horse lord," and Dothraki. I love that too. I don't know where you could use that. Find some out. I also like I like little moments here when Jaime shows up. He's captured. He's his snarky self. Offers the duel as a way out, and I like Rob saying, if we did it your way, you'd win. But Rob saying, we're not doing it your way, Kingslayer. I love that. And for that, I just love Charles Dance so much and the way he delivers lines. But where was Robb Stark? I don't know, with his other 18,000 men. That's a great read. I love that. So final favorite scene, moment, line, whatever. I'd be remiss if we just didn't actually discuss Ned's death and the sequence. I think Ned's death remains one of the best directed and best conceived sequences in the show. Alan Taylor talks about focusing in on Arya and Sansa. There's actually some shots, almost like kind of steady cam, off a tripod, kind of shaky cam, almost zoom ins on Sansa and Arya, and how you're seeing it through their eyes. And there's also great Ned looking out and seeing his perspective of kind of looking out and focusing it on him. I think it's beautiful. And one of the more heartbreaking scenes in all of Game of Thrones for me, one of the heartbreaking moments, I should say, is Arya sitting on the statue there, Baelor, and just watching the citizens, the town folk, the small folk screaming for her father's head, screaming for blood. It gets you. It exposes kind of the humanity of this world. And you're looking at Arya, and you know where she kind of goes. And I think the Hound, she maybe her list might have included everyone in that audience if she could have had her way. That kind of bitterness, that kind of vengeance eating her up. And I think the Hound in season 8 kind of saves her from that. We've talked about that previous on Game of Thrones. I can't wait to discuss that when we finally get to season 8 on the rewatch here. But Arya's released of that. But in this moment, just seeing everything, it's painful. It's painful. And I love Yorn, Francis McGee's greatest Yorn. I just I love it. And the shot of Ned, again, going to this idea of Ned, one of his constants is children, protecting the children. Jon, raising Jon, not wanting Dany killed, giving Cersei the chance to leave town with her kids, kind of respecting Cersei a little bit for being a mother who loves her kids, all those kind of things. And one of the last things, just looking at and seeing that Arya's not there. It's a little bit of comfort in that big, powerful moment. Episode stars, there's a ton. Peter Dinklage, this is, I agree, Cogman, probably the episode that won him the Emmy. Sibel Kekilli, I think she's great. I think she comes. I know some people don't like her, but I think she really did own that character, make it her own. Own that character, make it her own. That makes sense. Yeah, no, but good. But here's my episode star. I'll say this: David Bradley is Walder Frey. He's a long career, but when he pops up, you're like, Harry Potter, yay! Oh, he's pretty nasty. Just a great performer. Does such a good job. And particularly here in these the first moments we meet him. Just you hate him. And I don't think you get it. I don't think you're like on his side, but when he starts saying that stuff to Catelyn Stark, when he's like, don't lie to me. You've always looked down on us. Your house has always looked down on us. Late Walder Frey. F you. It's one of those things where Game of Thrones does so well, where you're like, I mean, okay, he has a point. Yeah, he has a point. But he's earned that. And David Bradley did such a great job as Walder Frey. All right. We did it. We did Baelor. We absolutely did Baelor. An episode that it's just, again, going back to that day, going back to the moment it happened. I was house sitting for someone. I was sitting on a bed in sweatpants with socks on. I remember it was not cold, but I had socks on. I think I was getting ready to work out after. I'll watch this episode. I'll go for a walk with the dog. I was house sitting with this dog. And I just remember sitting there in that bed, and then Christian calls, and for about 30, 35 minutes of us just going, I can't believe, I can't. And so this is episode. This is one of the biggest pop culture moments. So I tried my best to break it down. I hope you're okay with me looking at Baelor by myself here. We'll carry on. Next up is, of course, Fire and Blood, the end of season 1. It's been a lot of fun doing this rewatch here with all of you on Casterly Talk, even though sometimes I'm talking about myself. Really, I'm not alone with your great calls that you all can make from Anchor. Just go to the Anchor app. Sometimes I am having a search issue if you're looking for us on Anchor. So just go to the tweets, follow me at Ken Napzok or M Drive Media for Morning Drive Media, or to our Facebook page, just like us at Casterly Talk. And you can link directly to the Anchor site from there. And you can call, leave a message. You'll love hearing from all of you. It feels like we're all in this together. You can go to kennapzok.com for all the other things I do. You can support me at patreon.com/Ken Napzok, or you can support this show directly on Anchor as well. Or just, hey, tell a friend about Casterly Talk. Say, hey, you think you're done watching Game of Thrones? It's not done. It lives on. And Ken's talking about it. So thanks for those watching on YouTube as well. You can like and hit bells and subscribe to my channel, all those kind of things. I ain't a YouTuber. I just like dipping my toe in the water. But it's a lot of fun doing Casterly Talk with all of you here. So that is it for this week. We'll see you next week for Fire and Blood here on Casterly Talk.